Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. It is great to have with me today Purple, Godless Scummer, Jenni, and Mage. And I know I promised you last week that Steve Bowman was going to be here, but I did not look at the date correctly on my calendar. Steve Bowman will be here next week. So this week we're just going to have some time of community building and hanging out with friends. So welcome to each of you.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having us on.
Good afternoon.
You are most welcome.
And good afternoon to chat. How are you guys?
Yeah, good afternoon to everyone in the chat and to everyone who is watching this at some later date. Hello, future audience.
Ooh.
Well, technically, I'm already in the future.
That's right, you are.
Well, I on my headset, and Sammy immediately lays down on my leg because he knows that means I'm not getting up for at least 2 hours.
Except today we're only going for 1 hour.
Yeah.
Well, according to the paperwork I got, it's my dog's birthday today.
Happy birthday, dog.
Hey.
What's your dog's name?
Happy birthday, Molly.
I gave her a bully stick to keep her occupied while we're on here.
Yeah, that's not going to last the hour, is it?
Probably not.
Mage had a topic that he wanted to bring up, and I mentioned there was a topic I wanted too, but it happened to be the same topic as Mage, so let's go ahead and jump into it.
All right.
Mage, I'm going to let you introduce it.
All right. Well, apparently, Texas Senate passed the bill, Bill 1515, that would require the Ten Commandments be posted in public schools. Of course, this hasn't been made law yet. It's just passed the Senate, so.
The thing that makes me so angry about this is the law is so blatantly unconstitutional. It is so clear that it is not going to be upheld, that it is a complete waste of everyone's time and money to pass this law. If it makes it through the Texas Congress and gets signed into law, then it's got to go to the courts and get struck down.
Yep.
And it seems so stupid to me.
Well, and this exact issue has already gone through all of the federal courts and already gone to the Supreme Court and was struck down before. But they're just hoping that the Supreme Court is going to ignore all the previous precedent and say it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that they're doing lately with religious freedom, if you will, in the Constitution is to use the First Amendment. The second part there, it says you have the freedom of religion, but you also have the freedom to practice your religion. Okay, it's not just you. There's religious freedom and there's choice to have no religion, but it says you have right to practice your and that's an interpretation of how some of the current conservative courts have been playing with.
Ramming your religion down other people's throats isn't practicing your religion.
But that may be how it works out in a public forum, but they've used that rationale for some of the cake maker complaints and things like that. That these people have a right to practice their religion.
Except that the government doesn't have a right to practice the religion. The government doesn't have a religion. Although that's kind of what they're trying to claim, is they're claiming that that the Ten Commandments and Christian heritage is part of our founding of our government. And they're trying to claim that it's part of the government, but it clearly is not.
Which is, of course, why the First Amendment directly contradicts the First Commandment.
Yeah, they're going back to the original intent, Federalist bullcrap.
Well, I was recommending that if they have to post up these Ten Commandments, we put them in LGBT colors.
I was just going to say I'm almost wondering what the Satanic Temple is going to do in a response to this. So.
I don't know. BS asks, which copy of the Ten Commandments? I've never boiled a kid in its mother's milk.
Yeah.
And
it does specify which 10.
Yeah, it does. It does. Plus, it also says it has to be displayed prominently. There's a number of requirements with how the display has to be.
Wait a minute. What? There's a version of the Ten Commandments that says boil your children in milk. What?
No, a goat, a baby goat.
Oh,
The
Yeah.
10th commandment in one version is you shall not boil a goat in its mother's milk.
Oh, I
Yeah.
heard baby, not goat. Sorry. Although, it's Christians, you never know. Oh, God.
Well, I love the ones that when you bring up something like the slavery or genocide, they tell you that, well, we're only following the New Testament, that Jesus superseded the laws of the Old Testament.
Yeah.
But okay, if you're not following the laws of the Old Testament, then we don't have to pay attention to the 10 Commandments. That's part of those laws.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was rather shocked at the decision yesterday that came out of the Supreme Court. Not so much shocked at what the decision was, but that the fact that it was 7-2.
Yeah, that's what surprised me about it was
Sorry, which decision was that?
the amount.
The decision to keep the entire ban in place against the ruling against mifepristone. So the Texas judge that ruled that mifepristone can't be used, basically overruling the FDA, that has been completely stayed. None of that is allowed to go into effect. And the court ruled 7-2 on that. The only two that voted against the complete stay were Alito and Thomas.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. There were also things in there that will have implications about people being able to get prescriptions by mail, which could affect things that if some states ban certain drugs, you might still be able to get them by mail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that ruling is completely out.
Let's see what it says here.
Mm.
Include the text of the 10 Commandments as provided by the subsection yada yada. They have typeface that is legible to a person with average vision and from anywhere in the classroom in which a poster or frame copy is displayed and be at least 16 inches is wide and 20 inches is tall. The text next to the poster or frame and copy of the 10 Commandments described by yada yada must read as follow, and it gives the list of the 10 Commandments.
I'm going to say, I mean, you've got to bear in mind, I come from a country where there technically is church and state, and Church of England runs an awful lot of like primary schools in the UK, and even none of them do you ever see anywhere. You see the 10 Commandments on prominent display. It's really, it's all a bit of a culturally to me, it's a bit strange,
Mm-hmm.
Well, they say they have to be framed. So what if you put them in a frame that says on the bottom edge of the frame, this stuff is bullshit?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing in here about saying what the frame could say.
I just put a picture in there now next to it of that old was that thing from that Mel Brooks thing where God has given me these 15 commandments, and he drops the tablet. These 10 commandments.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of that movie now, but I know it was a Mel Brooks thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
That was
Mr.
the
Shadowkey is saying, instead of all 10 commandments, how about just implementing the ones that say don't lie, cheat, and steal?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we were to implement those, there wouldn't be anyone left in office.
I'd see. The other way thing we could do with that is display the 10 Commandments, but on the proviso that we also have display right next to it George Carlin's sort of the dialogue of George Carlin's routine about the 10 Commandments.
Well, that's what the satanic people can do.
Well, I personally like to follow the 2 commandments from the book of Wild Stallion, and be excellent to each other and party on.
Yeah. So I brought Carlin up. You had to go there. See.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a set of like 7 rules. I forget what they call it, but like a satanic creed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, seven tenets.
Yeah.
that's satanic.
So
I can't remember them off the top of my head.
Right next to it.
Well, this is obviously what they've been doing with the like statues on the courthouse steps and stuff, haven't they? Where they've been lobbying to get their Baphomet put up.
Yeah, they've
nearby
got that giant Baphomet statue that they keep trucking out to these things.
Yeah.
And Baphomet is such a more interesting word than Jeebus, or God. Simple sense. They can only deal one syllable at a time.
BS not accepted has a really good point here. Why are they doing this? If an active shooter sees them, will that person say, gee, the 10 Commandments say I should not kill, so I better not do it?
Yeah.
Although I do know why they're doing it, and it's because they make the claim that the world has gone to hell in a handbasket ever since they took God out of the schools. Matt Powell has a video where he claims that 1962 is the dividing line between when America was good and America went completely to hell in a handbasket. And
yeah, I'm gonna assume. Go, Jenny.
Having lived through that particular divide, he's full of shit. He's just full of shit.
I'm going to say, given my guess is that Matt Powell's grasp of history is about as good as his grasp of evolution, to be honest. So,
It is.
Yeah, well, we know that the bottom line of this is that they're pushing to get prayer back in school. But they want to make sure that it's prayer that is led by a priest of their denomination. They're going to go ballistic if somebody from a different denomination leads the prayer.
Yeah, this is what they have. This is the sort of stuff they don't think through, because they might all get on each. They might sort of find common cause for like briefly or whatever. Then it comes to, who's going to lead the prayer? It's going to be a Baptist. Is it going to be a Presbyterian? Is it going to be like some other evangelical group?
Yeah, it might not be your denomination.
Oh no, I'm from the Second Baptist Church. We can't have somebody from the First Baptist Church.
Yeah. Well, the evangelicals are pushing this, and how are they going to feel if it's a Mormon or a Jehovah's Witness?
Wasn't there something else where they're trying to replace counselors with pastors?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
They were trying to replace counselors with pastors?
Yes, they were trying to say that a pastor without any training could take the position of a school counselor.
Could we pay attention to the chat once here? Pragmatic Crystal makes a point in a 5-4 decision.
I was trying to get to that one. In a 5-4 per curiam decision, the court ruled that a Kentucky law that violated the first part of the Lemon test, the test that was established as to what is constitutionally protected speech, and thus violated the Establishment Clause of the Constitution. I'm not sure which rule he's referring to. Do you, Jenny?
No. I thought that post to me is what I'm thinking of is the division in the First Amendment. The implied rights that conflict each other in religion.
Mm-hmm. Well, what he's saying is that this is what the argument is going to be, is that if this 10 Commandments thing goes to the Supreme Court, that they're going to use this 5-4 decision to try to show that it meets the Establishment Clause.
Was Lemon v. Kirtman the Baker's case?
No.
No.
Lemon is the test that says that if government wants to restrict speech, they have to show that there's a compelling interest. And there's a 3-part test for what constitutes a government compelling interest that they can ban a particular form of speech. One is detriment to the public safety. That's why you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. And I can't remember what the other 2 are off the top of my head.
Oh, well, some lawyer you are.
So, my position on this is if a kid wants to pray before a test, he's in full right to do so. And if anyone tells him otherwise, I'd be up in arms to allow him to do so. If the teacher wants to lead the class in prayer, now we got a problem.
Well, and that's exactly what the current law is.
Yeah.
It does not forbid students from praying in school.
Right.
It only forbids a member of the school staff from leading students in a prayer.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which, of course, they always conveniently don't mention when they're making their argument.
Mm-hmm. Pragmatic also says, like the prayers they do before Congress meeting or a Senate meeting. That makes me so mad. Yeah. Those have been ruled as permissible under civil religion. And allegedly, they are non-sectarian. I mean, they are not favoring any particular religion. You can have a Christian lead the prayer, but you're supposed to have a balance of people from different religions lead the prayer, and even secularists to lead a moment of meditation. But in practice, it's almost always Christians.
This is what this is what I mean of like where a group like the Satanic Temple might come into the equation here, because they've done it. I mean, they've done this in like the state senates and council chambers, haven't they? Where they've successfully got in and lobbied for prayer or whatever before, to open the prayer, and of course it's got all the Christians up in arms, and it's like, yeah, you kind of lobbied for this. You kind of, you didn't think for a moment that some group you didn't like was going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I had a personal experience with this issue when my daughter was in junior high. That one of her friends was wearing a pentacle, and a teacher told her to take it off. And the girl just said, "Okay, I'll take off my pentacle if you take off your cross." And the teacher tried to get her expelled. So I wound up in the principal's office fighting for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I were on the high court, and we actually began to argue this, I think I would. One of the things I would ask the complaining attorney is, or not the complaining, but the defending of the commandments. What is the mechanism for being sure that all religions are able to post their tenets on the wall? And if they can't answer that, in any of the 3,000 some religions in the world, then they should not be allowed to do it.
Well, I know exactly what their answer is. Their answer is that they claim that the Ten Commandments was part of what shaped our Constitution, and that the Christian religion has always been a part of our history, and therefore it belongs in our classrooms because it's supposed to be a part of our government. That is the claim that they make directly in the bill.
And this is what I believe it was Texas again, where they successfully lobbied to get that taught as actual history in classes. I believe that was Texas.
It wouldn't surprise me.
From what I do know that there's a sort of reason for it, because Texas does often seem to be the battleground when it comes to schools. And I did hear someone saying that's due to the fact that they order a lot of the textbooks and stuff, and what tends to happen in Texas has a knock-on effect across the country.
Yeah, well, that is the problem, that Texas is the biggest textbook market in the country. So all the textbook publishers know that if they do anything that's going to get their books banned in Texas, they're going to lose a lot of money. So they water everything down for them.
How can they say that? Texas is not the most populous state. Isn't it like California?
It's double? The biggest geographically of the
so what?
Of the 48.
So what? Land doesn't vote; people do.
Right.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, Perp. It just infuriates me that people keep thinking Texas is this magical thing of some sort.
Yeah.
It happens that way because the political influence in the powers that be have it happen that way.
Yeah, but there is a deliberate strategy in the fact that they know that it's a big textbook market, and what happens in Texas can have a massive effect on other parts of the country.
Exactly.
This is why
what it is. Texas gets to lay it out because Texas has this review process that they use, and because of the people who are on these panels for this review process are these arch Christians, that's or Confederates as well, ends up to be the kind of crap that we have going on.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with selling numbers of books. It has to do with the boards that choose the books.
Yeah. I know Aaron Ra has gone before that board a couple of times to argue.
Yeah.
Actually, Aaron Ra just released a video about this latest ruling. I watched it last night. And in that video, he said that he had been to the Texas State House to testify on this issue.
Yeah, because he I know he did this a lot when they were trying to sneak intelligent design into, or basically they're trying to sneak creationism back into the classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the people
who... I think that Texas and Florida are kind of in a competition with one another to see who can come up with the most outrageous laws.
Oh, yeah. They've been playing Hold My Beer for the last few years.
Oh, yeah.
The people who insist that the 10 Commandments were the foundation of our laws, though, obviously have read a very different version of history that leaves out half of the writings of the Founding Fathers.
I think Florida should petition the federal government to ban all other states from raising orange trees or citrus trees other than them. Yep, that's what they should do.
This is interesting. Evidently, Ohio is trying to get in on the competition as well. I'm in Ohio, and the conservative government is trying to out Texas.
Oh yes, absolutely. Ohio is on the track of cruelty. What I think of it as.
Oh yes, Ohio is one of the leading states in the anti-trans legislation.
Yep. But those trans people, they're sick and dangerous.
Yeah, they're all demented perverts.
And really fucking sexy, which is why all those porn sites stay open for so well. And are so busy.
Well, don't talk about pornography. You're going to hell if you do that. S.J. Thomason said so on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Well, then she had to talk about pornography to make that statement, so I guess she's going to hell. Porn is the portal to hell, she said, and I was like, and you know this because? Exactly.
I ended up blocking a whole bunch of people on Twitter because of pornography the other day. I made a comment about Pride Parade being canceled in Florida due to the anti-gay laws there. And I was saying that it was sad that an entire group is being affected instead of just, what they wanted to ban, which was, nudity. And I ended, a bunch of people sent me a bunch of pornographic pictures, either of drag queens or pride parades. And I ended up blocking a whole bunch of people.
It was probably a bunch of bots that just got triggered by the keyword nude.
Mention to them the ID I sent you as a DM. No? Okay, I will. I sent Granny a DM.
I'm sorry.
A DM in Twitter about the Pride Festival being canceled. That they should reschedule it, have it go back on, and they should get as many cis women as they possibly can to come to it as participants and dress up in the most outrageous camp drag queen like clothing that they can, so that you cannot tell if they're actually women or actually drag queens, and see how many people they arrest.
I love that idea. I'd love to see a mass protest like that.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? And there's no reason why you couldn't then get drag queens and anybody whose alternative lifestyle to march as well, because you can't possibly arrest everyone.
Yeah, what are they going to do? Make hundreds of arrests and then have to check everybody's genitals?
Don't put it past them.
Yeah. Well, I was seeing
Well,
this.
that's okay if they do it. Look what it'll tell to the American public what's happening now.
I was seeing a lot of the sort of LGBT section of the British Labour Party saying that they're feeling like they might have to pull out of going to pride parades because of the fact that the leadership of the British Labour Party have gone like cap in hand to the bloody turfs with their anti-trans bullshit now. So yeah, not good. That's not a good thing.
I don't know. I think the whole world is becoming really divided on this issue. You know, some on one side and some on the other.
It is becoming very polarized.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it really is just a very loud minority that is making the issue, because you know, in polls by non-biased groups like by Pew Research, it still shows that not that many people really care about these things.
That's interesting.
It's
see, the last count I heard was something like there's over 450 anti-trans laws they're trying to push through.
Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, Ron DeSantis is losing grounds in the polls and losing donors. And some of his donors have basically said that, yeah, they're fed up with this, you know, all of his cultural stuff, all of his culture wars, that they've had enough of it. So they want to see a candidate who's actually going to talk about some issues.
Yeah,
that would be really nice.
So that'd be a refreshing change, wouldn't it?
Well, you're not going to find that in the Republican Party.
Well, they're certainly not going to find that with Donald Trump. I mean, he got elected without talking about policies, you know.
Yeah, but you know that they're seeing that. Yeah, somebody who's like this may play well with the Republicans, but they're not going to get any voters who wouldn't have voted Republican anyway.
Maya says, last I heard, 60% of Americans were tired of hearing the term woke. And DeSantis polls showed that he can't currently win the presidency. His politics are not viewed well nationwide.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which was very predictable.
Trump has really lost popularity since that indictment. He's pulling down at 25%.
Oh, really?
I didn't realize it that low.
Yeah.
So who others are in the race a lot of GOP then? I don't know. I only really know about Trump and DeSantis.
Well,
there's a few
Nikki
others.
Haley, who was our UN ambassador, and wasn't she a senator?
Yeah, but that's part of the problem the Republicans are having. That other than Trump and DeSantis, none of the other candidates are ever showing up in the double digits. They're all below 10% in the polls, so they can build a campaign on that.
Pence is running too, and frankly, I think Pence will get the nomination.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a scary thought.
That was such a riot.
Well, it's a scary thought because I could see Biden losing the next election. I really could.
I could too.
Yeah.
Because I think he's been such a lame duck as a president.
I don't agree with you there.
Okay.
He's done a lot of things. He just hasn't tooted his horn a whole lot about them.
I would agree on that. He is virulently anti-LGBT, but he just never talks about it. But he sure passes laws that in Indiana that did that. Look what he did with the AIDS treatment and stuff. You know, he just as happy have gay people die from AIDS than set up treatment programs.
Okay, according to NPR, there have only been 4 Republicans who have formally announced their candidacy for president, and that's Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't even know who that is.
I don't either.
And Asa Hutchinson, who is the
Oh
Arkansas
yeah, that's
governor.
right.
Well, when they had the NRA convention last week, Pence was there, and he definitely was indicating that he was running.
Yeah, well, then under that, they've got, like 9 other people here that they say are weighing their options. Ron DeSantis, Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo, Chris Sumner, who is apparently
Look at
the New
Patrice says, I don't think
Hampshire governor.
Biden is going to run. And I think that's a very real possibility. Biden was even kind of reluctant to run when he did, and he's pretty old. I would
I don't
not
know
be
about that.
surprised if he decided not to run.
I think it would be the best thing for the Democrats if Biden said he was retiring.
I don't think he will be.
I think that's the best. I definitely think that's the best thing for the Democratic Party. Honestly, is for him to sort of say, "I'm doing 1 term. That's it." And
yeah, Biden doesn't have a real broad base of public support. People don't.
His cognitive abilities are still there, clearly.
Okay,
yes, they are.
But his mannerisms. I mean, he was walking like a guy in his 80s, and his speech is slow enough, like a guy in his 80s. But unfortunately, that's what people look at to determine is if this guy is too old, not whether or not his cognitive abilities are there. They thought about if they cared about cognitive abilities, Trump would never have seen the inside of the White House.
Biden tells officials he's definitely running, but formal announcement could wait for summer.
Okay, so Biden is going to run.
Yeah, well, and with or without Biden, there's still the question of who else do the Democrats have that has the name recognition on the national stage?
Gavin Newsom, governor of California.
Mm-hmm.
He's been out there making rounds and talking to various media pundits and stuff.
Yeah, I can see
get his name circulating more.
I think Pete Buttigieg will again make a bid for president at some point in the future, but definitely not 2024.
Yeah, it's Gay is not going to make it.
Yeah, with all the disasters we've had with the train wrecks and the airlines, there's no way he'd get anywhere in 2024.
Yeah, I like how they blame somebody in that position for all the train crashes and all the airplane problems. It's like, come on, folks, get realistic. Don't know the difference between a customer and a supplier.
Yeah, well, the Republicans are blaming him for it because they don't want to admit that a lot of it has to do with regulations that were repealed during the Trump era.
Ding, 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 ding. That certainly is true.
Like
Maya, who would you think should run? Yeah, Michelle Obama. She certainly got it all together to do that.
She's also said no way. She does not want to do that.
And that's sad because she's so brilliant.
I think I honestly think America would have been better off actually in 2008 if she had been their nomination instead of her husband actually. I have a lot more time for her than I do for him. Let's put it that way.
Well, would she run like a 80s Republican the way Obama did?
Maya says, I like Katie Porter.
Oh yeah, but she just is nominating herself to run for Senate. So that's going to take her out of the possibilities unless she wants to give up that campaign.
Well, if Biden announces his presidency, it's considered bad form to run against a sitting president. And so it's very unlikely that a Democrat would challenge him for the Democratic nomination.
Yeah. Well, the Democrats wouldn't want that kind of infighting, so they would try to prevent it.
Right.
Because they don't want anybody going into the primaries who's like attacking Biden in the primaries.
Although if Katie Porter does get into the Senate, that's going to be a very major positive. I don't understand the thing with Dianne Feinstein. I know that she's aging rapidly and problematically. but I thought if a sitting senator resigns, then it was up to the governor of their state to name someone to fill the interim.
Well, you would do that if she died or if she retired. The problem is, well, what people claim is the problem is that she won't do either one of the. Well, I shouldn't say won't do any, but she refuses to resign or retire, and but she also doesn't have sufficient health to be able to attend.
Right. But I'm referring to if she were to get realistic and resign.
Okay. Yeah.
Then it usually is the governor who gets to appoint someone, although whether or not they serve the rest of the term or whether there's a special election will vary state to state.
Yep.
Oh, Shadow Kitty, thank you. I never knew where that expression came from.
Shadow Kitty says the term comes from when a ship is damaged in battle and can't propel itself. It just sits there effectively like a lame duck waiting for the conflict to end.
I learned something today. Oh boy.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that was the origin of it either, but it makes sense.
I wasn't
That
either.
has to wait until a friendly ship can tow it away.
Mhm.
I thought it always referred to like a really bad Daffy Duck cartoon.
That's despicable, Jenny.
Maddie asked, didn't Biden do something with the Dalai Lama recently? Not that I'm aware of.
No, I don't think so.
The Dalai Lama was in the news recently because he told a kid to lick his tongue or
Suck
kiss
his tongue.
Yeah, to suck his tongue. That was really weird.
Yeah, that really was.
Yeah,
Even if that was an acceptable thing to say to a child, I don't get that technique at all.
That's a totally normal thing to say to a kid. Yeah, what the hell?
Well, like even to the point of having the kid kiss him, I was like, okay, maybe it's a cultural thing I don't understand, but it went beyond that.
Yeah.
Well, with the Catholics, they kiss the rings. You're supposed to kiss the Pope's ring and the Cardinal's ring. I don't know. Maybe the Dalai Lama is trying to make a new religious tradition.
And isn't it in the satanic religion you kiss the ass? I mean the donkey.
I thought that only happened on shows down in Mexico.
Nice. Yeah, I see. I thought it was kissing the ring meant something else in the Catholic Church, but I don't know what
Probably does. We're just not in the club, so we don't know.
What are people supposed to do with royalty, Geoff?
Guillotine them.
Okay.
I think that's still just a bow or a curtsy usually. But like offering to shake hands with them, I thought was kind of an insult.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's one of the don't do's. That's why one of the things
because anything that you would physically touch them is like asking them to lower themselves to your position.
You know, I am not a giant fan of the monarchy, but when Trump went over there and absolutely disgraced us, you know, you at least respect the leaders' rules and regulations on their own playground, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And for him to behave how he did was just so anger provoking. I really hated it.
Oh yeah, that got a lot of news over here when he did that. That got a lot of coverage.
Oh God, what an ass!
Yeah.
Well, there's your religion where you kiss the ass. The religion of Trump.
Yep, that's for sure.
Yeah, how could they miss the symbolism that they're wielding an actual golden idol of him?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of people that really do want to set him up as the second coming of Jesus.
Yeah,
I heard some people say that straight out.
There was a group that actually said that they're going to add a book to the Bible about Trump.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Some evangelical sect in the South. I forget which one it was.
I assume
Well,
they're
we should
going to
get busy
also
and write our own.
I assume they're going to remove from Revelation the verse that says that you're not to add anything to this book.
Oh, does it really say that?
Yeah, it
Well,
does.
they probably haven't read that book.
It says that
It's gonna be a new
anyone
book. It's gonna be the book of deprivation. Is that it?
It says that anyone who adds or subtracts anything from this book, that all of the curses of the book will fall upon that person.
And Revelation.
Yeah, but you could interpret that to mean, if you change the book of Revelation, you could interpret that not to mean the whole Bible.
Okay.
Well,
I'm
of course,
gonna say- I'm
everything in
gonna
the
say
Bible they
things
can interpret
been-
however they want.
I think things have been added and subtracted from the Bible quite a lot over history, from my understanding.
Yep.
So
Okay, here's a tangential subject. Several months back, there was a group that was putting up tweets on the Twitter, talking about a movie documentary that they're putting together called 1946, which was supposedly the year that a group who put together the King James version of the Bible changed the translations from what they were to homosexual.
Interesting.
Okay. And that they supposedly had a actual paper trail of that process and that decision being made, and that they say they put together this documentary and it's out there, and here's the truth, that it does, homosexual does not belong in the Bible. It never did. Blah blah blah. But I haven't seen anything more of this. If such great film, why isn't it being shown somewhere?
I don't know. Maybe they never finished making it.
I suppose
that'd be quite ironic, given King James has sort of known proclivities in that department. It was always very much rumored anyway. It was, so.
Yeah, King James himself was gay.
I liked Mr. Shadow Kitty's response to this is response to Johnny Rapine's Jesus, Son of God, Trump, Son of Man. And Mr. Shadow Kitty responded, Jesus, Son of God, Trump, Son of Bitch.
Have you seen a picture of her? It's true. Oh man, what's this world coming to? I'm so frightened for the future of my grandkids, my grandnieces. It's just so frightening.
I think eventually something's going to pull us back together again. Just like when 9/11 happened, the country really came together. Yeah, it's going to take another major disaster like that, but I think something's going to come that will eventually reunify us.
Well, unfortunately, all 9/11 did was try and unite us against a common enemy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but see, that really only works as long as you keep everybody afraid, and that's what got all these people, promoted a lot more gun nuts, that they all had to have guns to defend themselves against some invader.
That's how we ended up with the Patriot Act.
Yep.
Yeah, well, those fuckers stock up on the ammunition. If the president is reported as fart, anything they can make an excuse for, they'll stock up on shit.
Yeah,
they're just so Looney Tunes.
Well, and now they're using the defend yourself and self-defense things to just shoot anyone who even sets foot on their grass.
Although that's backfiring.
I hope so, but I was reading about another incident of it that just occurred, about this couple that was just delivering grocery orders, and since they were having trouble finding the house, they pulled into the wrong driveway and the guy started shooting at their car.
That, it's not totally surprising after what's been happening, but the first 3 incidents that happened, all of those people are in jail now. I would think that somebody would notice that, hey, if you do this, you go to jail.
Okay, the last incident, the police said they couldn't do anything about it.
Really?
So-
Why was that?
Because the car had ventured onto the man's property, so it fell under the stand your ground bullshit.
Was it in Florida?
I'm thinking that one was in upstate New York, but I'd have to go find the article again.
New York, I don't know for positive, but I can't imagine that New York has a stand your ground law.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure which state it was now. I'd have to look at it again.
Mhm.
But, also, it drew people's attention because we had 4 of these all occur in 1 week.
Right.
But it's
Right.
not like that these were new incidents. This stuff has been going on sporadically for years.
Mm-hmm. Spaghettius says, hopefully you won't need something quite so drastic to come together. And yes, I agree, Spaghettius. I sure hope we can come together without that.
Nah, you Swiss people just gotta tough up, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get that shotgun loaded. Gosh.
Yeah.
That was harassment.
Here's a good new topic to turn to. Look at the trees as they arm themselves and get fear-mongered on Fox News.
Oh,
Now that
Fox have had
Fox
an
is-
interesting week, haven't they, sir?
Yes, they have. First they made that settlement with Dominion, and now they've been slapped with about 100 more lawsuits. And who is it? I can't remember. The software company that's suing them, Smart something.
Smartmatic.
Yeah, thank you, Smartmatic. They said
Oh.
they're not going to settle. They want to go to court and they want to make them testify.
Well, I hope somebody does, because in the settlement that Dominion gave them, Fox did not have to make any kind of public apology.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to say anything on air that they had lied.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that the money they pay as a settlement, they can take as a tax deduction.
Mm.
Yeah. See, it's. Oh, it
It's really
just.
a slap on the
I
wrist.
just.
Individual people don't pay on court decisions either.
Just frustrates me whenever that bloody arsehole Rupert Murdoch, how he keeps managing to weasel his way out of one thing after another.
That is the life of the ultra rich.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, when the stuff happened in Britain over the his newspapers hacking people's phones. It was pathetic when they actually got Murdoch in front of a parliamentary committee. It was just embarrassing to watch these MPs just genuflect around him and not ask him any tough questions whatsoever.
Mm.
It was sickening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the same thing's happened here anytime they've had a Senate hearing.
Well, the thing is what our politicians haven't learned. I mean, I think the United States election and the recent one, the last one they had in Australia, should actually let people know that Murdoch isn't necessarily the kingmaker that everyone thinks he is. I mean, he put the whole machine behind Trump, and he didn't win. He put his whole machine in Australia behind the Liberal Party. They lost that election. But it seems like our politicians on the so-called left of the Labour Party still think they have to suck up to this guy to have any chance of getting elected.
Mm. Pragmatic Crystal says the media company also faces a $2.7 billion defamation lawsuit filed by another voting technology company. Oh, yeah, that's what we were already talking about with Smartmatic. Yeah. I thought that was a different
What's the complaint there? I haven't heard of that one.
It's the same one we were just talking about a few minutes ago.
Yeah, it's very much the same thing as the Dominion, that Smartmatic made voting machines that were used in some of the states.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Okay.
I just hope that somebody actually gets something that, Fox has to, on air, say to their viewers that, yes, we've been lying to you for the last 5 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be nice, but it's not going to happen.
Well, I mean, even when our like some of his newspapers in the UK they've had to print like front page apologies or something to people. It's always ended up in some tiny little box right in the corner, so you can't see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was about 9 or 10 different times where they had to make a front page apology to Jeremy Corbyn, who used to be the leader of the Labour Party, over some absolute garbage they'd said about him. And none of them were like big headlines or anything. It was always just like a little box, so you could blink and miss it, kind of thing.
Buried on page 20.
That's been going on forever, because even in a Spider-Man cartoon in the 70s, I remember J. Jonah Jameson saying that when his paper was forced to print a retraction, he said, yeah, put it on the back page.
Yeah.
So what did people think about the news that Russia bombed itself?
Yes, I heard that.
Oh, I missed
hear
it.
that
I
one.
must have missed
I
this
haven't
one.
heard this one.
I didn't hear the detail.
It wasn't huge, but yeah, there were Russian planes that were intending to bomb Ukraine and dropped their payload too soon while they were still over Russia, and they bombed a street in Russia. 9 people were injured. They put a huge crater into the road, and Russia admitted that it was a mistake. They didn't mean to bomb their own people, but they did.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So I'm wondering if this is just another instance of that they haven't been properly maintaining the equipment all these years.
Could be.
I was going to say they're even worse than the United States, because at least with the United States Armed Forces, they only managed to shoot like their allies by mistake, but not themselves.
Oh, they
actually, in the 1950s, we dropped a bomb in the Nevada desert.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of our bombers lost a nuclear bomb.
I thought
Actually,
this was
there's I
intentional.
believe 2 or 3 in recorded history. One of which was never recovered.
Yeah, there was an instance where they actually dropped a bomb that had a nuclear warhead. Fortunately, it hadn't been primed, so it didn't explode. But still, just from the weight of the bomb, it took out a big crater and took out this guy's farmhouse.
Well, I mean, I don't know if any of you have seen that video by the guy who does history videos, Mark Felton, about when Britain nuked the United States twice. It's only training exercises, but technically, like, we successfully dropped nukes on the United States as a training exercise. And
now, I thought Britain did all that stuff in Australia.
No. I think it's Mark Felton's video was about this. It was the British Falcon bomber they were using. This was sort of just before the era of when, like, intercontinental missiles were coming in, I suppose. So there was still like long range bombers and so on. It was just done as a training exercise to see if United States is air defenses could be penetrated, and obviously so they found out to their horror that they could be.
Yeah. Well, there is
these new hypersonic missiles that Russia has that we've also been working on developing. They are a scary fucking weapon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We all need to be a little bit nervous about those.
It is good to see how many countries have been coming together and sending weapons to the Ukraine now.
Yes. Yes, that has been good. I sure hope we can get Ukraine into NATO, that we can get this conflict resolved long enough that we can get Ukraine into NATO.
Well, the U.S. has begun training some Ukraine crews to drive the M1 Abrams tanks. And it's like, shouldn't we have started this a year ago? why did we wait so long? Because now they're going to have like 3 months of training before we can even start shipping the tanks over there.
Because you can't take one of the most highest tech machines on the planet and give it away to somebody so quickly.
I understand the training is necessary, but why did we put off backing them up so long?
I'm talking about the ferocity and the deadliness of that thing, and if they would have started sending those over on the first week of the war, the first month of the war, it would be a whole different situation. Public relations guys.
Yeah,
I think it's. I still think Putin's started something he won't be able to finish. I mean, I think he obviously thought he was going to steamroll over Ukraine in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's gone on what coming up on a year and a half now.
Yeah,
it's only been a year and a month.
Yes, a year and a month. Okay, yeah.
But that's the problem right now is that Russia's not going to win this, but Putin can't back off and admit that he was beaten by a smaller country.
Yeah.
Right, his own people would kill him if he did.
Well, yeah, obviously Russia got embarrassed in Afghanistan in the 80s, didn't they, as well? So. But I'd love to see them not just beat this current invasion, but I'd like to see Ukraine push Russia back out of Crimea again when they annexed that number of years ago.
Operator Starsky said they're getting ready for a new counteroffensive. I don't know how big or where, but they are definitely gearing up for a new counteroffensive. He said that they're in training for it right now.
Yeah, I've heard things haven't been going quite as well for Ukraine as we've been told.
I've been hearing mixed stories on that.
Yeah, I have too.
I saw a story just the other day that said that Ukraine took back an area that the Russians took back from them, like in this really short span of time. That was kind of like, oh boy, look at that.
Yeah.
Operator Starsky also said that in the last month, Russia's lost 25,000 troops. So they're hoping to win a war of attrition and just run Russia out of soldiers.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure that Russia originally thought that they could win that way, but the kill ratios have not been favorable. But I also would like to just say that, I feel somewhat for the Russian soldiers that the soldiers didn't want to be there. They're being forced into this position too.
Yeah.
A lot of them aren't even soldiers. They're just kids that they're pulling off the street and saying, "You're now in the army."
Yeah.
Here's a week of
He's conscripting people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, this is becoming. This is becoming. I think a very, very big problem for Putin now. And I mean, the only real ally I suppose he's got technically is Belarus. I know a lot of people have sort of were getting like quite worried when they saw like China talking with Russia, but I don't think Xi Jinping's daft enough to get China involved in this. He knows.
I think China's taking notes and getting ready to invade Taiwan.
Yeah,
that's more likely what I'd see them do. But I think China's a bit of a weird one in the sense that if they're going to invade anywhere, it will be Taiwan. But I think they've always been a little bit wary about testing the United States, should we say?
Yeah, but I could see China helping Russia out as far as like producing ammunition for them.
Yeah. At the end of the day, there's always going to be people when it comes to it's two sides fighting. There's always going to be people willing to sell guns to either side. So
yeah.
The other interesting news that I saw about the Russian military is they've produced their latest, greatest MiG 25, I think it is. And everybody's saying it's a pile of shit. It does not perform anywhere close to its intended envelope, and it's costing way too much. And they haven't been able to ramp up and get them produced fast enough, and just nothing but trouble with it. And that's good. That costs a lot of money to fuck up.
I was going to say, I was going to come back on a comment you highlighted there that I think Mr. Shadow Kitty said about the Mujahideen forced Russia into bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think you can put the Afghan war is not the sole reason for the collapse of the Soviet Union. It didn't help, though. It didn't help, but their economy had been in a pretty bad state for even like it had been very much stagnant even for like 10 years, even before they invaded Afghanistan. I mean, the Russian economy was in a lot of trouble.
Well, I think one of the things the war is really
that
highlighting is just the level of corruption that's going on.
Yeah.
That the military was not maintained despite having a huge budget. So it's like, okay, where did the money go to if they weren't maintaining the military and developing new equipment?
Hi, Claire Bear.
Well, we are out of time, so I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to express any final thoughts that you didn't get to express. Give a shout out to your channel and let us know what you've got going on. So, Purple, we'll start with you.
Not much, just my usual thing. Although, starting in May, I'm going to be moving my stream to Wednesday at 2 p.m. So pushing that back 2 hours later to try and make it more convenient to people in the UK and Western Europe to join in.
Okay.
2 p.m. Central.
Yep. And May 1st
we don't like those people.
May 1st is the 5th anniversary of my channel, so that'll be Wednesday, May 3rd. We'll be starting season 10 of my series. So
now you're going to be doing that show solo, huh?
No, I wasn't. I don't do well solo.
Well, I read your blurb for the show, and it kind of implies that the way you said that you are taking AMA questions.
Yeah, because I'm not committing you to answering the questions.
Okay.
You have to say that yourself. I'm not committing you and Mage to answering the questions if you don't want to.
Geoff, how about you?
Yes, I've got a humble little channel, Godless Scummer. Funny enough, I think my channel's birthday's on May the 1st as well, actually. So I'm pretty sure that's the date I posted my first video. But yeah, I don't have anything scheduled, but there's a lot of the stuff I tend to react to. Now, I do feel, given one or two of the things I've seen this week, but I haven't had a real chance to sit down and read it. Probably another thing about Atheist Alliance International is going to be coming, because that's just like the gift that keeps on giving, that organisation. So,
okay,
I can't say where and when I'll release anything about that, but it does sound like there's more drama going on there, and So,
Jenny, how about you?
No, I got nothing to say.
Okay.
Except,
Mage, how about you?
I would never abandon you, Purple, on May 1st. It was just a good place for some teasing.
Mage.
I'm working on my next video for my gardening channel, Gardens Happen. It'll be on dog fennel. So you can look forward to that. It's more of my more technical videos, where I just kind of go over the stuff about the plant.
Okay, very good. All right, and the links to Purple's, Geoff's, and Mage's channels are all in the description. If you are not already subscribed, please subscribe to all three of them. And Jenny, her Twitter handle is in the description. If you would like to get a hold of Jenny and bring Jenny as a guest onto your show, or just have a chat with her.
Did you, by the way, change that to my current
I put your current one on there.
Okay. I fill you in the background, people. I got my Twitter account banned because I was writing nasty of letters.
You're gonna have to fix.
I was going to say, how do you lose your Twitter account and flipping Glinner gets his back after a few hours?
I don't know.
Granny, none of the links are working in the description.
They aren't? Okay, I'll fix them after the show then.
I'm going to bet Glinner got his account back because he was a paid subscriber.
Yeah,
what I tried doing was copy pasting those, and they worked that way. Maybe that's why. I can go for a different link that you can just click on rather than having to copy paste it. But I did test the links, and they worked for me. But
I'm just getting 404 errors when I click on them.
Okay. And thank you very much for the super chat, Dan D. That is very much appreciated. Okay, thank you all for being here. Thank you to everyone in the chat. This has been a lovely conversation. And what I have coming up next is next week. Next week is Steve Bowman will be on to talk about geology and the flood. And everyone, live your life. Bye.
Don't get caught.
Bye-bye.